right, so yesterday I was at the University Research Retreat, so I'm going to try and bring that into my talk. So I was wanting to talk about how our team add value in the broad sense, but this is going to also get caught up with my reflections about spending 9.5 hours or 10.5 hours with 70 key university decision makers in the areas of research. So might not be my usual organized stuff. So what I want to do today is look backwards to 2016 because we've achieved an awful lot. And each and every one of you in this room and those who couldn't make it today deserve a huge pat on the back for that. I want to talk about the awards because what Jenny Peasley talked about is only the tip of the iceberg. And I want to talk again about team culture and behaviors, your favorite topic of conversation. And then I want to look forward to 2017. And this is the area that's a little bit less organized than I would like. So I'm going to talk about the university's research environment a bit and how that might impact on the research activities or the activities in our team. So first of all, this is kind of a map of our team. The map only became a kind of organizational structure there, only sort of started in the beginning of this year because, Andrew, you've only been here for like 11 months, right?
I started on March 14th, so less than that.
Less than that. So the research data team is definitely the new kid on the block. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about what each of the teams have achieved over the year, again looking backwards. So I'm going to start with the Greek Archives group. So I don't think anybody is here from the Greek Archives, nor Maria. So Christine, if you can take some of this back to that group, that would be terrific. So the Greek Archives, for those of you that are not familiar with it, was handed to the library as a unsorted kind of mess of 5,000 cartons on 73 pallets jammed into a space that a pallet shifter couldn't get into after being exposed to the elements in the old hospital building. And the Greek Archive staff really deserve a huge vote of thanks for the work that they've done to turn a kind of mess into a catalogued and listed collection and also promote that collection. And even though the future management of the Greek Archives is still slightly unknown, there will be some life into the future, but what that will take, I'll have to report on in 2017. So Greek Archives, big chunk of work. I'd next like to talk about the research data team, which seems to have had an amazing liftoff in the few months that they've been active. So not only have they managed to put together Data Ready and work on the research data management planning tool with the EDRMS project, but they're also doing work in quite a few other areas like Trendle, a project that I'm not going to get caught up in talking about, and looking forward to using Omeka, which is an image management tool or image management thing that we might be using to display Greek Archives images. And on top of that, they're also managing two ANDS projects. So that's the Australian National Data Service projects with physics and with agribio to bring some capacity building into the library and into the university and managing, in real life managing research and also adding to high-value collections within the country. It's a lot. Okay, next, the partnerships team. Now, I started thinking about all the things that the partnerships team has been working on, and I kind of am going to miss some. So if Graham is here, and Sue, if I miss any out, please correct me. So the first thing that I was thinking about is the Research Commons, which is such a huge impost on that team, especially the AS team, by the way, the Arts, Social Science and Commerce team. So a whole new area to manage with all new equipment and all the place-related issues. So my hat is off to you, Graham, even though you're not here, and you can't hear my pat on the back. Then the team has been working on outreach and Orchid. They've been working on the new rave reports. And those are just the things that came to me over the last few days. What have I missed out that's really critical? Maybe we'll leave it there. Yeah, this huge amount of stuff. And I want to make a special mention about the open access seminar that the team members worked on. Congratulations. First on being brave and throwing it out there, and second, doing it and making it a great event. So I consider that an act of pretty big bravery. Okay, and then the Research Online team, which has done so much, I'm definitely going to leave something out. So we upgraded my publications, we upgraded the repository, we did the big load of thousands and thousands and thousands of records. We've managed to hire some casuals to fill in gaps to try and do a number of things, but basically get us prepared for the ERA and some other things. Christine's been working on the ever-present issue of the Theses by Research, ably abetted by other people in her team. We completed the publications data collection exercise for the university. And when we did that at the spur of the moment in the way, because they changed the rules on us in January, and we had to change a lot of the things we were doing, or some of the things we were doing, and rethink why we were doing them. Plus all the associated communications. So thank you to that team. So we have, as everybody's probably all too well aware, university awards and library awards. And what may not have been mentioned at the talk last week is that we had some winners, or a winner in our team, but there were also quite a few nominations as well. So I want to say that the library research team as a whole was nominated by Simon for the annual publications data collection, and as well the library research team was put in for a university award against 96 others. So we'll see how we go against that kind of competition. But just to be nominated is a huge thing. Then I also want to say that the nominations for the library awards included the Greek Archives team. I think I've already said what they've been working on. The Research Data team, a new team, and still did amazing work. Jillian for her top journals methodology, who actually was a winner. Congratulations. Yesterday at the research retreat, I actually mentioned Jillian's award to the people she's been working with, because I sat on a table with Trevor and Lola and some of the others. So I think they're very tickled pink. Yeah. And Tracy was also nominated for Values and Behaviors. I don't want to bore you to death, but I do want to talk a little bit more about Tracy's award. Try to find it. So something that we're thinking about in the library and in our team is how to not only make what we do task-focused, because we do have a lot to actually do, a lot of responsibilities, but how we do our work and how we bring in things that I've talked about at almost any one of the meetings that we've had as a group, that we have to work honestly, supportively, respectfully, sensitively with each other, because that's part of working well. And so Tracy's nomination was around the areas of agility. So Tracy always has a lot to do. She has so many staff and so many people in her teams. So she's always prioritizing and reprioritizing, always communicating with me sort of what she's is at the top of her list. And she has had to cope, as we all have, with changes. We keep on joking that every 18 minutes we have to change our approach. She's an absolute master of that. Accountability, so she takes ownership of what she has to do, and she resolves the issues. Sometimes she comes to me if she needs to, sometimes she doesn't. I think she's very consultative across the team and across the library. She's one of the co-chairs or chair of the Primo Reference Group. I may have that slightly wrong. Is that right?
Yes, she's the
Co-chair.
She runs the Primo.
She's the convener, I think.
Convener.
Pretty sure she's the chair, yeah.
I think that's right, yeah. And I'm very pleased about that, because one of the things that I wanted to do this year is focus more on getting us to lift our head from our work sometimes and look across the library, if we can find even a minute to do that, and try and collaborate and be more consultative. And next week we're going to have a meeting with people in the research office about how we can cooperate more with what's going on in that group. So breaking down silos is something I think Tracy's great at. And innovation, so who else would think of a rave report? Like, who wouldn't want a rave report? And who else would have thought of a name like that? Well, I think it was a group think, though. But anyway, great name, so congratulations. So the University Research Retreat was yesterday. Actually, I'm going to go up one more. Sorry, I've left something out. I just wanted to say that the team leaders, the Tracy, Andrew, Roderick, myself, Sue, Christine, and Graham, have decided that one of the things we're going to focus on in the values and behaviors is the consultative, being more consultative. So I wanted to emphasize that. And that is possibly in most of our own career success goals. But I also want to say that we're, I guess in some ways, thinking of how we can better empower members of the team going forward, and helping them be brave and helping them be supportive and innovative. So more on that next year. The University Research Retreat was put together by the two PVCRs, so Sue Martin and Miranda Rose from Ask and She, respectively, and was managed by Faiza, who we all know, and Andrew Hastings, which many of us will know. And there was the main players who were invited to the research retreat were people in Keith Nugent's area. So obviously people from the research office, and Christopher Atta from Research Infrastructure, people from the Athena Swan trying to get gender equity into the academic research environment. So mainly people from that area. So originally the library wasn't asked or invited to participate. But when I found out about it, I managed to, finagle to get a spot at the table. And I must say it was really interesting to go to a session where the library was absolutely never mentioned at all in the area of research. which was very interesting. But I guess if you take it from the point of view of the way it was organized, what they meant by by research support was actually money, 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 and money. And so the library doesn't cost them anything, so they don't have to pay money to us, nor does the library bring in money, except maybe in a little way with the AMS project. So in a way, it's not surprising that we didn't get mentioned. So the research retreat is going on today, so I stayed till about 9 last night having dinner with the group, but turned around and came home, but everybody else is still there. So I am missing out the areas of engagement and partnership and Dan Grant and this college research plan, so the specific plan, detailed plans. But they are going to distribute the slide packs from that day. So if I'm allowed to, I will forward that on to the respective people in this room who need to know. So I'm just going to go through a few things that were discussed and then talk about where we might be going in our team. So first of all, the RFAs and the DRPs, the DRPs are the discipline research focus areas. Their money, their funding runs out at the end of 2017. So I don't think there's any idea that they haven't added value and brought money and kudos to the university, but there is some activity around assessing the best way to spend that money and the best way for the RFAs to operate or to be organized. So one of the things that was raised is that some of the RFAs are very large and others are very small, and that size disparity may be an issue, as an example. But I think they did get a big tick, so I don't expect too many changes there, but they will be assessed. And that may actually affect some of the things that we do here. Another area of discussion was research planning, especially regional research. So one of the issues that was pointed to is that at La Trobe University we have greater numbers of level B academics than our competitors. But the level B academics as well are less productive than our competitors. Now there are a lot of reasons for that, some of them that aren't anyone's fault, so I'm just kind of stating the facts. But at the campuses, I think, at the regional campuses, this can be drawn into even more focus because the regional campuses have been left with fewer level E and level D staff, so they're kind of reliant on their B and C staff. And if those people don't have PhDs, like in nursing, a lot of the level B staff really do teaching and don't have PhDs, then publications and research by that group are correspondingly less, and affect, I guess, the university as a whole, because we can't have the regional universities not performing as well as, I guess, metropolitan universities. So how we can deal with that has been, or how the university can deal with that, was a big topic of conversation. So I guess that there's a structural issue here, just to go on a little bit, that even though it's recognized at a bigger picture level that this is an issue, because the money is sort of tucked away in departments and in the colleges, they may make the decision to appoint their level Ds or level Es according to their needs and not according to the university priorities. So there is that innate tension that doesn't allow some of these issues to be resolved immediately. So I just reflecting on that, that Sue at Albury Wodonga and the Bendigo staff, I'll get to you in a minute, Clayton, if that's okay, have a huge opportunity there to help level Bs and to become more enmeshed or more situated in some of the research areas to see what sort of things we can do in terms of rave reports, literature reviews, and other kinds of things to help push the university's aims forward. Sorry, Clayton, please go now.
I was just wondering how well regional campuses were represented at the retreat.
So I have to tell you that I thought very, very well. So we had the head of the Rural Health School, plus key members of the Rural Health School there. We had a few people from Albury Wodonga. Gwyn wasn't there, but I think she was away. But there were quite a few senior people from the regions there. And especially the people in nursing and midwifery who have hospital presences, as well as many regional presences everywhere, were very aware of the problem because it adversely affects nursing, midwifery, and rural health even more than some of the other areas. Another huge issue that was discussed and had various speakers were publications and rankings. So, so first of all, the publications awards that are given out to people who publish in top Web of Science journals are really sending a message out to our academics that no matter HERDC, publications do count. Because even if they don't count anymore for block funding, which is a separate issue, they count for ERA, they count for grant success, and they count in many other ways. So I just wanted to talk a little bit more about that. So publications are also on the increase at La Trobe. So in 2016 over 2015, there was a 10% increase. And 2015 over 2014 was an 18% increase. So I wanted to point to that because it does affect our publications data collection exercise with the group that's doing that having more and more work. I also noted that when people talked about non-traditional research outputs that they reported in the slides that we saw at the presentation, many more outputs than I think we collected. So there's an issue there that I think will smack us on the bottoms when we get to ERA. And our our partnerships people may need, and the whole team may need to think a little bit more about how we gather those in each year. But that's something for us to put on the back burner. Publications drive rankings. And Alistair and Keith talked about an analysis, and I don't have the slides on that, but it was a fascinating analysis that showed that when we move up the ARWU rankings, the Shantung Index, each time we move up the rankings, it's worth downstream to us millions of dollars. Because what happens is that overseas students often make, postgraduate students and undergraduate students, but mainly postgraduate students, make their choice of where to go based on those rankings, especially in Asia, obviously. So, of course, the 2016 rankings that just came out too late to affect next year, but they're actually looking for a big flow-on in the year after that in enrollments. And of course, those enrollments mean big money to the university and also flow-on to the departments and to the schools. So rankings generate money, but indirectly. Everybody may have caught up with this, so I probably won't dwell on it, but the block grants have checked the way that money is distributed. ERA 2018, so I'm going to turn to those notes. Now again, I'm working off my handwritten notes or my typed up notes because, again, I'm going to get these PowerPoints, but not yet. So Alistair spoke about ERA 2018 along with Marianne. So it's kind of a joint presentation. So first of all, we're submitting our next ERA on March 31st, 2018. However, the work to ERA has already started both in the research office and in the library. Broderick's team has been working on that already. And in addition, there's going to be an impact and engagement exercise that's going to continue possibly into June. It's a little bit unclear because a lot of information about the impact and engagement exercise hasn't been revealed. They don't know yet what they're doing. So first of all, from the 2015 ERA, everybody will know that we performed very strongly because the strategy was to get as many 5s, which is the top ranking, as possible. And the university did that, knowing that that would also mean, in some cases, a few 1s and 2s. I thought that this group would be very interested, as I was, to find out that that strategy, of course, reaped huge benefits for those areas that got ranked 5. But there was a fair amount of concern in the room for how we supported staff who got a 1 or a 2, who were kind of the sacrificial lambs. And I found that interesting that in amongst everything that goes on at the university, at a very high level, there was quite a lot of worry about the emotional impact that could have. And I thought that boded really well for the functioning of those groups. I just thought that was an interesting takeaway. So what is ERA? It's ARC, or Australian Research Council generated. It's every 3 years. It's to show the government the quality research that's done in Australia, and the money that ARC puts to research is research that's at or above or below, in some cases, world standards, so it's kind of a justification exercise. It includes 6 years of outputs, both traditional and non-traditional, the nitrides. The census date is the 31st of March, 2017, for those people who are going to be included. And it's all staff, not just research active staff. And it's all staff greater than, have a fraction greater than 0.4. Everything is taken account of: income, publications, esteem measures. And all of that information is ground down to the fields of research codes at the 2 and the 4-digit level. So I'll just leave that as a mystery box. If you don't know what they are, I'm sure Christine and Roderick can talk to you ad nauseum about fields of research codes.
Certainly nauseates us.
Yes, it certainly nauseates all of us. Interesting that you should note is that up to 40% of the peer review component of the assessment, so that's another thing that I'm kind of leaving in the mystery box, can be recategorized, which is how they managed to make some people shine at a 5, but remove some really good publications, so some fields of research ended up at 1. So that categorization is also an issue for us, and Christine and Roderick can also talk fairly ad nauseum on that topic as well. Next bit that I wanted to talk about. Okay, so in preparation for the ERA, there's going to be an engagement and impact pilot in 2017 that the university is going to participate in, and the person who's the project manager for that is Eve Merton. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Eve Merton is resident on the Bendigo campus. Aren't I correct? I'm fairly certain I'm right.
We don't know.
Yeah, okay, I'll have to go and check that. I just already have a plan in my mind. The university got wind of this on the 21st of November. Today is the 30th of November, so 9 days ago. And they have to nominate who's going to be in the pilot, which areas, by the 14th of December. So they have basically 2 weeks to organize this. They also have to, Eve Merton and her group have to nominate panels to do the impact and engagement assessment and submit narrative by May 2017. The assessment will be in May and June 2017. And the report that the university will get will not come out till mid to late 2017. Why am I talking about impact and engagement so much, and why am I so interested in it? Well, I think it bears very heavily on the Altmetrics trial that our team is going to be doing in 2017. Tracy is leading that, and so far we've recruited onto that working group, hopefully Sue, if that's okay, from the regional campuses. Rob Chong from marketing, from college marketing, is interested in being on that group. Chin from the Red Unit is also going to be on that group. And we might co-opt some others of you just for information. Because Altmetrics may be a way to gather some information for engagement and impact. So the last bit of complication I'm going to talk about, because I know that I want to talk about a few more things, and I can see there's nervousness next to me. So the very interesting thing is every university, and I think I have a slide on this, every university has been told the areas where there will be an engagement exercise and which areas will be an impact exercise. So the engagement areas are chemistry, medicine, history, archaeology and philosophy, and religious studies. And the impact disciplines are environmental sciences. Tell me if I'm leaving any out, because I'm reading from my notes. Agriculture, engineering, education, creative arts, language, communication, and culture. All very well, but nobody has an idea of what engagement means and what impact means in this exercise. So it's kind of, at the moment, we don't know what kind of target we're trying to hit. However, according to Marianne and Alistair, Christine and Roderick, I'm hoping you're sitting down with your feet on the ground, okay? What apparently they think that they're going to do is harvest ERA data and feed it back to us. So they're going to take our own ERA data that we've already submitted and send it back to us. And I guess tell us to assess it by FOR code, to check that it's relevant. Now, the reason why I'm worried about this, of course, is that non-traditional research outputs are something that I don't think we've fully collected. So I think there may be a gap between the data that's being reported back to us and what our own assessors might be putting forward. So some sort of information discrepancy that we might have to deal with. Because, of course, just to emphasize again, the library is the source of truth for publications and non-traditional research outputs data. So we're the source of truth. We're not responsible for reporting in any way, shape, or form, because there's a system to take that data out of the back, the reporting end of the syntactic elements, and feed it into ResearchMaster, and all the reporting is done from that end. So there might be a little bit of fun and games there. Can you make sure that people can hear you?
I was in Sydney last week, and there was a person from ERA speaking from the ASC, and he was talking about engagement and impact, and he said that it's looking like they're both going to have an element of narrative. So whatever is included is going to have, you're going to have to tell a story of what's the engagement that you're claiming and what's the impact you're claiming. And those two are going to be in parallel. So engagement and impact are not one concept, they're two concepts. And whatever is is submitted for those will be done separately. But narrative, it seems to be the key word. So it's very hard to pull out a metric for how you've engaged or what impact it's had. So a lot of people are going to have to sit down and get their fingers working on the keyboard to come up with some stories about why this stuff has proved to be valuable. And with the impact, they're looking at a very long lead time. They're looking at
15 years.
They're looking at 15 years. So they want to see the long-term impact, not just something that's attracted attention on Twitter in the last week, but stuff that's actually had an impact over a 15-year period. And I think engagement is a little bit shorter. But definitely impact is a very long time frame they're looking at. So we could be looking at things that we've never claimed at the ERA, because we haven't gone that far back.
Oh dear. So, thank you. Thank you very much, Roderick. I was going to mention some of that. It's terrific that you... No. It's much better that you mentioned that. So I just wanted to mention one more thing that I think will impact us. I'm just going to go back up. One more thing that I think will impact upon us around the whole ERA exercise, remembering that there are kind of two streams. So one is like citation, the traditional citation stream, and the other stream is what we've just been talking about, this new impact and engagement stream. Okay, so we have to think about both. But another thing that was mentioned by Marianne and by Alistair, although they couldn't tell anybody any more about it, is that open access publications and open access data is probably going to be one of the things that they're going to be looking for as an indicator of quality or of something. So, my prediction or a risk that we're going to have to look at is at the same time that we're doing the ERA and the traditional publications data collection exercise in 2017, we are going to potentially get a lot of people throwing accepted manuscripts or something along those lines at us, because during the discussion part, there was a very long discussion part, a lot of people talked about open access and author publishing charges to being a barrier, and I was asked impromptu to get up and do a talk about open access in the repository, and Chris from Social Work also got up and spoke kind of about the work that she's doing to get her living with disability researchers' publications into the repository. There was quite a lot of talk about that, so there was a lot of airtime given to all the heads of colleges, heads of schools, Keith Nugent, the new head of SHE, Robert Pike, who's, by the way, very nice, SHE people, amazingly nice guy, very down to earth, as well as all the people in the Ask College who aren't really interested in open access. We're all sitting there listening to the benefits and the issues around the repository. So just Christine and Roderick and the team, just keep both feet on the ground, because next year might be quite busy.
So I think with the ERA process, the way it works, by the time we come to reporting on them, I think they'll always be dating back some way. So with the embargoes that apply for making things open access, there'll be a lot of things that can be converted to open access in time for ERA. So yeah, we could be asked to make a lot of things open access all at once.
So I just thought that to add on to what Roderick was talking about around impact and engagement, I just wanted to say that Eve Merton is developing an impact framework, and they're already developing 4 case studies, and they're engaged the marketing team in the university to help write, I think, that narrative that Roderick was talking about. And as I understand it, the 4 case studies are bushfire, so that's, I think, is Mike Clark's area, autism, so Cheryl Disuniake, right? The legal toolkit, Fiona Kelly's work, and it was said gold and water, which I think what they really mean by gold and water is the work Susan Lawrence has done in archaeology, but also maybe the Murray-Darling Freshwater Research Center. So I'm not really sure what that refers to, and Alistair seems slightly confused too. So I just thought that you would be interested to have that information, especially that we might be asked to contribute or look at the outcomes of that.
If anyone was wondering if they're going to do a HERDC on us and not look at publications, it was very clearly stated publications continue, and this other stuff is all additional. So publications are still in the mix.
Okay, so I think I just wanted to go on to research support gaps and priorities. So this has taken a bit longer than I wanted it to, but I'm hoping you find it interesting and useful. So at the very end of the day, towards 5:30, when we were all feeling slightly mind blown, we started talking about or in our tables, what sort of issues and priorities we had. And again, I want to go back to research support in the minds of many of the people there is something that has dollar signs or time against it. Okay, so that's the mindset there. So some of the things that came up that I thought you would be interested in. So the first thing is, in my table I talked about research data management as being a research support gap in the schools and in the colleges, because we're going to be providing quite a high-level service, and people still have paper files, and there are a lot of people that don't really know very much about research data management. When I talked about it at my table, everybody furiously started writing it down, and when we mentioned it in the report back, all the other tables started furiously writing it down. And at the end of that session, I spoke to Barbara Doherty from Research Ethics, and she was saying that come January, February, so early 2017, they're going to expect that all human ethics and possibly all animal ethics applications will have a research data management plan attached to it when it gets sent to them. And I just said casually, oh, about how many is that? And she said, oh, I don't know, 500, 600, 700 a year. So in the same way that I was hoping that the online team had their feet on the ground, research data team may have to look for sustainable strategies. So 600 a year over 52 weeks, you can work out.
Yeah, I've done those kind of sums, and I know what's going on.
Yeah. And that will be the expectation. So I think they're going to start sending back applications saying, where's your RDMP? Okay. And another one that I want to mention is that there was huge groundswell of support for decreasing the administrative burden on researchers and academics. And I think that I wanted to reflect on this in the following way. So it's another one of those structural things. We've tried to make all of our services very sustainable. We have the query log, which we're going to hear more about later today. We're trying to have a generic email so we can spread the load. We're trying to offer package services that go across schools that are more generic services. We have publications data collection, which the harvesting is really geared towards the She College. So journal articles, not really geared towards the Ask College. So in our attempt to live within our staffing means, we've fallen into, I think, an unavoidable trap the same track that finance has, the same track that all the other, like HR and, you know, traffic and parking, everything's online. Everything is geared to generic answers. And our academics are just about completely over that. Because if you think about it, how many new systems have they had to learn this year, and how many of them work well? And one of the ones that Ask College think doesn't work well is My Publications. So it's not a fault of ours, it's just we've chosen a system for the 60% of the researchers in SHE where it works really well. Just doesn't work that well for Ask, and we're going to have to put on some speed shoes to think of how we can deal with this. Not assigning blame, it's just a challenge for us and an opportunity for us. Okay, so I think Jenny P. talked about what we're going to be looking forward to in our strategic plan for 2017. So ours fall in the enhanced research kind of pot of stuff. And the expanded research service, assess reach of research outputs. Well, I'm guessing that we can just tie that down to altmetrics, rave reports, that kind of thing. And research data citation, I think, is another area that we can kind of maybe throw in there, maybe not for 2017, it might be too early. Implementing a system for showcasing research, the Researcher Profiles, or VIVO project. So that is a project that has not moved forward because we're trying to tie it in to the bigger Research Information Management System project. But it's going to be a system where if we wanted to find out which researchers operate in the area of bushfires, we could just type in bushfires, come up and find the HDR students and academics who work in that area. A system that we don't currently have at La Trobe, believe it or not. It's a very important project, and I'm hoping that we'll get separate funding for that. We're going to be looking to develop a researcher portal with our partners in the research office and in the GRS and Rob Chung. And what I guess we mean by that is all the work that Tracy and the rest of us have done to make our research support web pages simple and clear, very simple and very clear, is we're hoping that they can sit underneath a researcher portal where the academic won't need to know that the library does rave reports. They won't need to know that the library, you know, who in the library they need to contact about research data. They won't need to know who to contact about research equipment grants under $5,000. They will just go to the portal, type in their request, and up will come, I guess, a knowledge base of answers. So we're hoping all that work Tracy did this year will really benefit us in 2017, because we won't need to go back and redo that, maybe a little bit. And of course, implementing new software and services for research data management, which I don't have time to go into, but we're going to hear more today, I believe, about the Enterprise Research Data Management Project, because Michelle's going to take us through that, and a bit more about FigShare. I'm going to the US tomorrow morning, crack of dawn, and I'll be back on the 22nd of December, so I'm not going to be able to make the Christmas party. Everybody have a really safe, happy, and healthy holiday. I just want to congratulate each and every one of you. You've been doing a fantastic job, and I could not do my job without every one of you doing what you do. Congratulations. Thank you.
Okay, does anyone, we can take 1 minute for questions. Does anyone have a question? Just really.
I've got a question.
Yes.
I noticed that the consultation draft of the revised Code of Conduct came out yesterday, but I haven't had a chance to look at it yet. I wondered if anyone else had said anything smart about what was in it.
At yesterday's research retreat.
Yeah. No, okay.
No.
Too soon.
It may have come out yesterday, but we were asked not to be on email
Oh, yeah.
yesterday, and the only time we went on email is at dinner. We had a kind of, what was it? There was this huge competition. You had to work out which person got which research grant, and it was huge competition. And I have to say that our team won, and it's because we had a librarian on the panel, on the table.